The Saucony Endorphin Speed 4 and the Hoka Mach 6. On the surface, two shoes that don't look like they share a lot in common, but the more you look at them, the more you realize they're nearly identical shoes. I have to admit, when I first bought both of these shoes, I was not thinking that there's any similarities between these shoes. And it wasn't until I watched one of the Fodrunner's videos where he compares these two shoes that it really started to click in my mind. They're both performance trainers that are trying to bridge the gap between easy running and fast running to be comfortable and versatile all the same. And the more I looked into them and the more I thought about them, the more I realized that they're actually the same shoe, but being solved by two different companies that have very different approaches to solving the same problem. And that's where they've both become very interesting. As always with these versus videos, let's start with the specs. So looking at the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, we have 38 mil of foam in the heel, 30 mil of foam in the forefoot, giving you an 8 mil drop. Now, these are Running Warehouse's specs, which is what I use for all of my videos. The weight is 8.3 ounces or 235 grams, and again, that's the standard US men's size 9 reference size that everyone uses. Now, in the Speed 4, we have a full Power Run PB midsole, which is a Pebax PIBA midsole with a winged nylon plate. Now, the wings on the plate in the Speed 4 are on both the medial and lateral sides, so you get the support and the control of the wings for supination and pronation. The Speed 4 also has Saucony Speed Roll technology and geometry, which is essentially a toe rocker, but the toe rocker is a little different. There is a toe spring in the plate, and that's what's giving you the roll forward in this shoe. Moving on to the Hoka Mach 6, we have 37 mil of foam in the heel, 32 mil of foam in the forefoot, giving you a 5 mil drop. So similar stack heights, but it has that 5 mil drop, which some people love, some people don't love. And that's a hallmark of Hoka's running shoes. Now the weight is 7.8 ounces or 221 grams. And again, that's for the US men's size 9 reference size. Now the Hoka is a much simpler shoe. It just has a full supercritical EVA midsole, and it has Hoka's early stage Meta Rocker geometry, which is the forefoot rocker that starts actually fairly far back in the shoe, giving you a very, very clear rolling forward motion in that shoe. Again, another hallmark of a Hoka shoe. Looking at the weights of my own pairs of these two shoes, starting with the Speed 4, the left and right balance is pretty even. We have 239 grams in the left, 237 grams in the right. That's pretty close. Only a few grams difference, and you're never going to feel that difference. In the Hoka Mach 6, the left is 215.5 grams and the right is 225 grams. Now that's a pretty sizable difference, but I will say on foot you do not feel that difference. Though when I do pick up the left shoe versus the right, especially notice this when I was putting them on the scale, I do notice the left is a little bit lighter. So that's not great, but again, it doesn't affect the run performance of my pair. Looking at the outsole widths and the contact patch of both these shoes, it actually begins to make sense why these shoes do run so similar. Starting with the Speed 4, we have 11.5 centimeters at the widest point in the forefoot, 6.8 centimeters in the waist of the shoe, and 9.8 centimeters in the heel of the shoe. Now, the medial and lateral heel flares in the Speed 4 are actually pretty extreme, and I will say that the heel in the Speed 4 feels like one of the widest heels I've ever run in. Doesn't get in the way, but if you have trouble with drastic heel flares in running shoes, you're definitely going to notice it in the Speed 4. Moving to the Hoka Mach 6, we have 11 centimeters in the forefoot at the widest point, 7.2 in the waist, and 9 centimeters in the heel. Now, this is a much straighter shoe. It's a little narrower in the forefoot, but you're not going to notice that. This shoe actually rides a little bit more robust because it's just overall wider and straighter through the entire heel to toe of the shoe. And lastly, looking at the rubber coverage of both these shoes, on the Speed 4, you can see there's a big piece of rubber in the forefoot, which I happen to like. It's a lattice pattern and it has cutouts between the lattices, so it gives really good forefoot compliance. You don't feel the ground because it is a plated shoe, but you do have really good traction. And then we have the standard Saucony sort of heel pads in the back, which they'll do the job, though it is going to take sort of a beating back there. Though the good thing is Power and PB foam is very durable. So if you're a heel striker, the Speed 4 should be very durable for you. Moving over to the Hoka Mach 6, you can see there is a lot of rubber coverage, especially if you ran in the Hoka Mach 5, which had a rubberized EVA outsole. This is a completely different change. But I will say that Hoka's managed to put almost a full rubber outsole on this shoe, but maintain that kind of soft, compliant feeling that Hokas are known for, just giving you much better durability. Now, the uppers and the fits of both these shoes are really one of the things that are drastically different, but they're actually, from a technology standpoint, very similar. Now, on the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, I described this upper in my initial or 50-mile impressions video to be very vague fitting, very sloppy, very baggy, and just feels overall very cheap. I don't like this upper. I don't think this upper fits very well, but I will say it's not giving me any problems on all of the runs that I've done in this shoe. So it does its job. It's just it never feels the way I want it to feel. Now, this zonal mesh material is, I think, part of the problem. It's just not very soft. It's not very compliant. And there's a lot of just weird overlays on this shoe that feel a little cheap, but also I just don't see what they really do. The heel counter in this shoe is very straight. There's not a lot of padding back here, so you never really get a pocket back here for your heel, and it always feels like your heel's loose in the shoe. Now, again, I haven't had any actual heel lift problems, but it just never feels secure. The one highlight of this upper, I think, is this tongue and the gusset. I talked about this in my initial impressions or 50-mile video. The anchor for the gusset of a tongue typically will go to the midfoot, but this one actually goes down into the heel. It actually anchors in this area. And that's the thing that I think gives this shoe the best, or at least a usable type of lockdown for your foot. I think that's the one thing that's giving me no problems in this upper. Now, moving to the Hoka Mach 6, we have a very similar upper, but it also couldn't be any different from a technology standpoint. Hoka's Creole Jacquard knit upper material is, again, a woven material that's trying to be breathable and compliant to the foot. However, in the Hoka, this material actually feels really nice, and I think it actually wraps around the foot quite well, and it feels fairly premium. Now, Hokas typically aren't the most premium feeling shoe, but this shoe actually feels very well put together. This material feels actually very nice. And overall, I think the fit and the finish of this shoe is actually one of the best that I've held this year. The heel counter in this shoe is, again, straight, but there's a lot of padding back here, and there's a deep pocket for your heel. So you're not going to have any heel lift in this shoe at all. There's actually more padding around the ankle collar in this shoe. Maybe a little bit too much. Maybe it's a little bit overdone, but again, you're not going to have any discomfort back here. We do have a gusseted tongue, but this is a more traditional gusset where it anchors more in the midfoot, but I think it actually holds the foot in very well. But everything's not perfect with this upper. The problem with this upper, though, is that the volume, the actual amount of material in the base of the eyelet chain, especially right here where the knuckles of your feet are, is too low. This upper fits very, very tight. Where I said the Endorphin Speed 4 was very vague and baggy and kind of loose fitting, this is the opposite. It's the opposite of loose. This is extremely tight. And in fact, it takes a few runs to actually get used to and open it up. Now, over the runs I have put in this shoe, this upper has loosened up. I'm getting a little bit more volume in the shoe, but this upper has very much a race fit vibe to it, which for a performance trainer, I'm okay with, though I wish this upper was a little bit looser. The other primary difference between these two shoes is the midsole. Now, in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, we have Saucony's Power Run PB, which is a PEBA-based PBX foam from Arkema. So it's the same company that produces Zoom X for Nike, and it is a true PEBA foam. And there is also a plate in here. Now, it's a nylon plate, and this is actually a very flexible shoe. It's actually kind of shocking how flexible the shoe is, being that it is a plated shoe. But this foam runs very much like a PEBA. You feel that initial cushion. The plate will stiffen or firm up the ride. You'll get the additional cushion above the plate, and it rolls you forward. Now, this shoe doesn't have a drastic falling forward feeling, though it is a very smooth rolling shoe off the forefoot, and that's the geometry of the plate in this shoe. There's a large toe spring in the shoe that when you engage the forefoot of this plate, it just rolls you forward, but it's not in a aggressive way. It's a very natural and neutral sort of feel to the rolling forward in this shoe. Now moving to the Hoka Mach 6, this midsole is actually just about the opposite in every way. Now this midsole is a one-piece supercritical EVA foam. There's no plate in this shoe, and it has Hoka's Meta Rocker, which starts around here and provides a very drastic sort of falling forward feeling. You feel the rocker in the shoe, and this shoe is much, much stiffer, which is crazy because there's no plate in this shoe. This is a much stiffer, much firmer ride that feels much more like you're falling forward. So if you like very extreme rocker in the forefoot of the shoe, you're gonna like the Hoka much more. So what's the verdict here? Which one of these two shoes do I prefer? Well, there's an obvious winner here, and it might be a little surprising, but I prefer the Endorphin Speed 4. Even with this upper being as vague and sloppy and cheap feeling as it feels, again, it's never given me any problems. But this Piba midsole and this very flexible plate and just the naturalness of how this shoe runs is exceptional. I will also say the versatility of the shoe is second to none. This shoe will easily do easy running up to the fastest of fast running, past 5K pace. If you're getting into 100s or 200s and really pushing like the top end of your pace, maybe this isn't the best shoe, but for most road running, especially if you're racing marathons and half marathons, this is going to be a great shoe that's going to cover all of the bases, and it's going to do all that easy running, and it's going to even do recovery running for you as well. Though if you're truly going on a recovery run, you probably wanted a non-plated shoe for that. But the versatility and the range of this shoe, along with the durability of this midsole, Power and PB is known to be very durable, very consistent for many, many hundreds of kilometers, make this shoe the obvious choice for me. That's not to say this is a bad shoe. If you like Hokas and you like the feel of Hokas and you're used to the way Hoka foams feel, then you're going to really love this shoe. But if you're not a Hoka runner and you don't run in Hokas very often, like myself, this shoe just, it's too Hoka for a lot of things. I don't necessarily trust the foam in this shoe. Hoka's EVA foams are notoriously known for kind of packing out over shorter distances. So who knows what the durability and the range of this shoe actually is. And I will say on a couple 10-mile runs or 16K runs that I've done in this shoe, by the end of that run, this shoe's starting to feel a little flat. I don't feel the foam packing out. It's not like I'm running on the ground, but it's not as peppy as it was for the first 5, 6, 7K of the run. And that's a little concerning. I will also say the fit being as tight as it is in this shoe, just I think takes some of the usability down in this shoe. I think the fit works for performance training. If I need to go out and do a workout where I'm doing 1K repeats or I'm doing some marathon pace and like 2 5K sets or something over a longer 20, 25K run, and it's got some easy running in there, I think this is going to be a great shoe for that. But if I'm going to take this out just for an easy run, I would never take this out for an easy run because of just how tight the fit is. It's just not going to be comfortable. And again, I don't really trust the foam. But again, what I find so interesting about both these shoes is they really are the same shoe, just coming at it from very different perspectives. Saucony is known for their engineering and putting some stability and making durable shoes that will go the distance. And Hoka is known for their sort of rolly meta rocker platform and making shoes that are bouncy and fun to run in. But again, these two shoes really encapsulate both brands' philosophies on how to design a running shoe. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you find this content useful, consider subscribing. You'll see more content from me pop up in your feed. If not, drop a like on this video because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.